Hello.
Good evening.
Hello there. Good evening, guys.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Fabulous facial hair, may I say.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Uh,
likewise.
I'm Joey. He's Benny.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hey, Vinny.
Well,
Hey, Joey. Hey.
welcome to the podcast, and thanks for giving up your spare time. I understand you're a new father as well, so you've a little wee baby. How's that treating you?
Well, it's no longer a wee baby. He turns 2 in January.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the heaviest part of not sleeping, I hope, is finished.
Yeah, yeah,
Still generally tired all of the time, but
yeah. That doesn't
yeah,
stop.
yeah. I'm not counting on it to. No.
It's just you're gonna have to start running around after him now because he'll start walking, and then that's the exhausting bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um, How has I mean the album only released on Friday. Yeah, Friday just gone. Um, are you pleased with it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've gotten so many beautiful comments and reactions from people, a lot of really good reviews as well. And yeah, all of us, we're just very proud of this record and happy that it's finally out there. It's always such a long waiting game between actually finishing the masters and then yeah, waiting for it to be released. So we're happy, very happy.
Yeah, I mean, Venny, I don't know if you listened to our review, but Venny actually pushed this album onto our rota, and I haven't listened to the previous two albums yet. It's on my to-do list, but I mean, this album's fantastic. And do you? I know obviously it's the cliche, like this. Your new album's obviously always going to be your favorite, but do you actually think this is your best album to date as a band?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the next one will probably be the best one, or the one after that, you know. Um, at this point, yeah, I think this is pretty much the peak of songwriting that we've reached. I'm very happy that we've taken a lot of risks with this album, both musically and conceptually, just doing a lot of different things. Um, I quite like that it has a bit more room to breathe than the previous album, which was a very busy, angry album. So yeah, it's pretty much exactly what we hoped it would be. We're quite happy with how it turned out.
Venny, you obviously saw the guys at Arctangent, and it was a how did you say it? It was a life-saving moment for you, or something like that.
Well, I mean, part of that was self-inflicted with the amount that I've drunk over the last few days. But certainly, by the time you came on that Saturday morning, my soul was a bit frayed around the edges, and you guys certainly put a salve on that, which was very nice. And yeah, I was blown away by that performance. Then I've definitely really enjoyed the last two albums. Each one being very different, and this one to me seems like the biggest departure from the last two albums. And I mean, you can sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, a lot of this album seems a lot more rooted in sort of the day-to-day reality of the sort of human condition rather than sort of psychedelic reaching for the outer cosmos. This was much more sort of in the here and now and really related to the human condition. And for that reason, I mean, there's obviously pros and cons of all the different styles and everything else, but to me, it really sort of resonated and hit home a lot harder on this album. Is that fair in any way, or is that something that you would sort of see in this album?
Yeah, I mean, we've always kind of written about the human experience, but I would say that this is just the by far the most personal thing we've ever written. Yeah, it's quite simply a story about us, about how we've become fathers and unfortunately also lost our fathers. It's yeah, no real I don't know, crazy spiritual conspiratorial concepts with this one. It's quite simply an album about fatherhood, about life and death, and everything in between, I would say. So yeah, it's definitely the most different one we've ever had.
Yeah, and I mean, probably people should be thinking about all these different spiritual and psychedelic concepts, but a lot of people don't. But almost everyone does have that connection to those things that you talked about, whether that is becoming parents, during myself certainly, both in that camp, or losing people. And I do wonder if you might find with this latest album that a lot more people connect with your music as a result, just through those very real experiences that everyone has in their lives. Is that something? I mean, you've obviously written this in a very organic way, but have you noticed either from any of the feedback or anyone listening to the album that they feel that way at all?
Yeah, what I've noticed not only in the crowd but also in ourselves when we're playing these songs, that there's just so much more emotion in there. The first tryout show we did last week, at a certain point, I looked at Thomas, our bass player, because I couldn't hear him singing, and I noticed that he wasn't singing because apparently after the show he told me that it was just too much for him.
Wow.
Singing all these words and then just realizing what you're singing about. And yeah, we've noticed the same um, reactions from the crowd, like very, very emotional reactions. Um, Even when they were telling us after the show what they thought of the show, they would tear up, and yeah, it's crazy. And most of them know the story, but even maybe if you don't know the story, I can imagine this being a much more emotional album. And yeah, that's what music is about, right? So I'm happy that it's as powerful to other people as it is to us, apparently.
Definitely. And it was only this year at Arctangent where Benny and I were, and there was a band playing called Overhead the Albatross. They were on at like
Hmm.
11. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they played that song, Mark, I can't remember what it's called, Mark Young or something, I want to say. But anyway, it's obviously about friends who they lost during suicide and things like that. And I've never seen a crowd so many tears in all my life just from the emotion of that. Like, you don't know who the people are personally, but you feel the pain. And I suppose, you know, you said that this isn't as angry as your last record, but I would imagine it was a very hard writing process because the amount of emotions tugging, like you're saying, like you're losing a family member, but also being a new father and trying to like deal with those mixed emotions must have been so difficult to actually. I mean, to write the music, was it difficult, or did it all just come gushing out? Or
Yeah, the first part went very well before we got the bad news, and we only actually got the bad news when the record was like 70-80% done. So in that sense, most of it came very quickly, and yeah, like the easiest lyrics I've ever written. It all came out very organically. But then once the bad news hit, yeah, there was this new energy. And of course, we weren't really thinking about the album at that point. We just wanted to spend time with our fathers. But at a certain point, you know, we had to keep working on it. So we had to decide, like, is this going to change the concept, or is it going to be a part of it, or are we going to skip it altogether? And we decided to lyrically not do that too much with it. We just stuck to the plan because we didn't want the album to change too much. But musically, yeah, I mean, I couldn't ignore just dealing with the fact that my dad was about to pass away, and I guess in some desperate attempt, I wrote the last two songs to maybe heal him or kind of give him one last something to listen to. So the last two songs are very much inspired by the pain and the saying goodbye. That's why they sound much more Pink Floydish than some other songs, because my dad was a massive Pink Floyd fan. So yeah, this was not the plan, but in a messed up way, it's maybe the best way of actually realizing what fatherhood is also losing your own father to understand how much he means and has meant to you all your life.
And I don't. Sorry if it gets too personal, please stop me because obviously it's a quite a delicate subject. But did your dad get to listen to the album before he passed?
I made him a YouTube bounce of like all the demos we had because we hadn't recorded it yet. But unfortunately, as much as he loved music, in the last weeks he just couldn't bear to listen to music. And he did listen to the opening track, the title track, and really liked it. And that's yeah, probably the last song he ever heard. So I'm really happy that that still happened, and
Wow.
that there's yeah, it's good because it's also a tribute to him, of course, this album.
Sorry, Benny, you go on.
Yeah, look, it's clearly really difficult. I mean, listening to what we've just talked about, you may get a certain impression of the record, but to me, along with that side of things, there's so much positivity and warmth on this record, and there's so much, in some ways, there's so much more warmth, I think, and that positivity, and like you alluded to earlier, that sort of light that comes through on this record than on the previous records, I think, and it makes it, you know, that sort of complete listening experience when you've got all of those elements on one album. But to say it's just one thing about loss and everything else would be incorrect, because there is so much positivity and, as I say, so much warmth that comes through, particularly in some of those middle tracks. Everything else, just the weather and all of these more positive sides of things and sort of fatherhood, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, that was the goal, to just leave behind some I don't know, reflection of what I think is the best music I can write for my son, and obviously add some life lessons in there and everything. But mainly, yeah, I wanted him to have an album that at this point is the best I can do, just a tribute to him. That was the original plan, and for the most part, that's what it became. Yeah.
And obviously, Stargazer is a tribute to your son and the way he was born in said position. Um, and I actually I couldn't remember if that was a single he released, but it was actually, in fact. And like, it's such a good song. Like, it has, like Vinny was saying, like, there's the positivity actually shines through in that song as like a real standout track on the album. And to then sort of the way it's placed now with the last two songs that you've just talked about makes it even more sort of on the heartstrings. I'm trying to get away from being this negative person, but it all ties into one. I mean, Stargazer is a massive track. Would you say that's like one of the most expansive tracks you've sort of worked on as a band?
Yeah, it turned out to be the longest song as well. Difficult song to finish. It was easy to get the first parts right, but that was one of the songs we had to put a lot of time in to get it right structurally, because it's actually a really weird song. It has like very weird transitions, but somehow they make sense if you listen to it. And yeah, it was a big project doing this. Very fragile vocal parts as well for me. That took some courage to write, and now I have to do this live. And yeah, I'm gonna do my best. Yeah, but I love that song. That's definitely one of my favorites as well. And it was a single, the second single, I think.
Right, okay. I didn't know if it was the first or the second of the two singles.
Yeah,
Have you played that live yet?
we have. Yeah, I think about 5 times now. But
Right,
unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties somehow, always on that song.
really?
The last few times went well, but yeah, long story with automated guitar switches, and for some reason on that track, just everything getting wrong. But yeah, we have played it live, and it's one of those songs where if I sing it well, then it's one of the highlights of the set. If I mess up because I'm nervous or not feeling well, then kind of collapses. So in hindsight, not the most strategical song to write, because I still have a lot to learn about singing, especially live.
Right.
But yeah, nothing wrong with the challenge, right?
Absolutely. And are you I mean third album in, and I mean obviously confidence is a big thing for you, like growing. So I assume that just as time goes on, you're going to settle in, be more comfortable doing these things, and there's always that classic phrase of imposter syndrome, which I don't know. I mean, it's amazing when you say that how many people have had it, and I suppose it's no different to the likes of you when getting up and having, especially with the things that have gone wrong, and now you're thinking, oh, is it going to go wrong again? But I mean, that's the beauty of being a musician, right?
Yeah, that's part of the job, of course, is just faking confidence and then realizing after a while that you're not faking anymore. You just convinced yourself that you're actually
Yeah.
confident. Because, yeah, especially as a singer, I mean, I consider myself a much better guitar player than a singer. Um, Confidence is so important when you're singing. And that's something I keep forgetting and always have to be reminded about, that it's better to sing slightly off pitch, but with a lot of confidence and with a good sounding voice, than just hyper focusing on the pitch and then not really saying anything and not really convincing anyone with what you're singing. But it's a very scary thing, man, singing. Oh, it's a love-hate thing I have during live shows, man. Yeah.
That's a very open way of looking at it, actually, Venny. And Venny and I have our day jobs, obviously. So I'm sure if I asked Venny, he'd be the same about imposter syndrome. But hearing it from that side of the coin, Venny, from all the people we spoke to, was actually quite brutally honest.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, how does that also sort of you're obviously a three-piece band and you have to create a huge sound between you, and obviously you're then also guitars, also vocals, and therefore responsible for a large part of it. I mean, it's not like you've got a whole backing supporting cast behind you. So I guess, I mean, not to pile it on, but it almost adds everything else onto your plate a little bit.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of pressure, yeah. But at the same time, I mean, we've been doing this for so long. We've progressed a lot. We've gotten comfortable as a three-piece. And something that always happens with every album is, yeah, I overestimate myself in terms of what I can play and sing at the same time. And then I'm forced to make a decision, like make one of the two easier, or maybe hand some vocals to Thomas. But yeah, but it's cool. I mean, we still try to actually play as much as we can live just with the three of us. Although on the new tracks, we have been using some backing tracks because we don't really see any other way at this point. But it's fun, yeah, fun process.
Yeah, I mean, the times that I've seen you, you sound huge, just the three of you. So you're clearly, carrying that incredible sound from the albums to the
Thank
live
you.
setting. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the sort of environment that you're in terms of creating this incredible album that you've just released. I mean, to me, you're on my favorite record label. I think you are from the country that is the hottest at the moment in terms of creativity and other bands creating really interesting music, not necessarily exactly like your music, but in a way it sort of has a similar ethos and spirit to it, even though if it doesn't sound the same. How much does Pelagic record label and being from Belgium sort of lead to you being so creative and sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit with this latest record?
I think it's just a lot of hanging out together, a lot of watching each other's shows, talking about other Belgian bands like, let's say, Potamus or Brutus or even Amin Ra. They've been playing for a lot longer than we have, but we have a lot of role models in this country, this tiny country, especially if you're into like heavy alternative music. And the thing is, we lack confidence is something we often say about ourselves, is that we're always good for a Belgian band, you know, like that's where it ends. And the really good bands are in the UK or in the US. But for some reason, I don't know, over the past 15 years, let's say, a lot of amazing bands have started out. There was this new wave. Let's say bands like Raketkanon as well, or Steak, very influential in terms of sound, also for us. And I think Amen Ra were really influential for this first post-metal wave, let's maybe call it. And we just know a lot of musicians, and we have collaborations. For instance, our artwork is done by Sam from Potamus. Michael and Matti from Potamus also work on videos with us. They help us out with gang vocals and everything. Kieran from my other band, Hippotractor, is our producer, and it's like this big spider web of people working together. And yeah, like I said, a lot of respect and support among all of us. Pelagic, same thing. I mean, it's also my favorite record label. 10 years ago, I would have never believed we would ever be on Pelagic. But yeah, beautiful people, very motivated, and of course, run by musicians for musicians. So they really know the whole story of what it's like to be on the other side. We've had the pleasure of touring with The Ocean a few times, many other Pelagic bands. And it's something, man, I don't know. It's just so much love and this instant family brotherhood feeling that just seems to permeate among all of these bands. It's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so much more than just a label. As you say, it seems like, again, a bit of an ethos, and building things like Pelagic Fest and everything else just feels like it's now created this critical mass. Whenever, you know, our favorite UK festival, Arctangent, always there's a huge contingent from Pelagic Records playing there, and it just feels like it's now just reached this critical mass where the spotlight is being put on some really interesting music. And what I love about the label is that, you know, it's not like a Profound Law or some death metal label where every band sounds exactly the same. This is a label where you can listen to all these different albums and they feel really disparate, but again have that common thread that runs through it. So yeah, I mean, that's not really a question to you, more of a comment, but yeah, it does feel like something's building with that.
Yeah, very much agree. It's strange how different all of these bands sound, but still somehow connect and have something in common, that immersive quality, this transcendent quality, maybe. Take bands like Bruit or Telepathy or Hypnose, PG Lost. I mean, all of these bands are just incredible, but they don't sound anything alike, except for the fact that they use guitars and drums, you know. But they're still all Pelagic sounding, just like we are, I think.
Yeah, and another band, I don't know if you mentioned, was Thought from on Pelagic as well. And
yeah,
Venny and I always say that, you know, we get so many promos through a week or whatever, but if you get a one that's from Pelagic, it always like pricks our ears, and it's almost like an untapped source of these great bands where I don't know, where, like you said, sort of like the Belgian bands are scared to, or just aren't getting noticed outside. But, you know, I mean, this is what we try and do is this show, like, you know, get like bands like this who some people haven't heard of, and if you can get like 2-3 people to listen and buy a bit of merch, like our work here is done, and like showcasing the like at Arctangent is, from a UK point of view, is certainly the best place to find any of these sort of bands. And Venny and I have discovered many and new of our favourite bands at this festival before. So it would be great to have more like band, like, because I mean, it just sounds massive, the Belgian scene. Is it like you sort of live next door to a musician and their brother and so forth?
Well, in our city, yes, there seem to be a lot of bands in Mechelen, is the name of our city. But all throughout the country, yeah, you have so many bands, and this is, like I said, just a tiny, tiny country. So yeah, it takes like 2.5 hours to cross. So everyone's pretty close to each other all the time. Yeah.
Nice. And obviously, the album's only just come out, but there must be plans for getting this out on the road at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have our 5 release shows coming up, starting off this Thursday in Berlin, and then it's Amsterdam, Paris, London, and finally Brussels. And then we prepare for 2026 when we'll be playing a lot of shows, doing a lot of tours, festivals. Yeah, we don't have that much announced yet, but I believe tomorrow actually a lot of these are going to be announced. So yeah, look forward to those because we'll be.
Anything like here?
Who knows, man. I do have to admit, Artangent is by far my favorite festival in the world. I've
Yeah.
been to quite some festivals, and I'm not exaggerating. There's nothing like it. We have, I mean, we might have the best festivals in the world as a country if you combine all of them, but Artangent, I mean, that's something else, man. And most of it is the lineup, but a lot of it is the people, the
Yeah.
atmosphere. You kind of deal with the weather. That's fine. You know, you can take that. But the festival is perfect, man. Yeah, nothing I would change.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
we
interesting.
talk about it a lot on this show, don't we? But I think what I've grown to really like about it is, for example, your set was on the main stage,
Hmm.
and was it 23 or 22? But it was on the main stage, and what that just and it goes again for a bit like when we saw Overhead the Albatross. You get these bands who get the opportunity to have that big main stage production, all of the
Hmm.
sound, any production that they want, and it just allows bands to just use their creativity, really showcase it. They're not being asked to play with like a 10-minute sound check and like the sort of, what do you call it, backline equipment or whatever else, who get real opportunity to sort of
Hmm.
showcase. And it's like you guys took it with both hands and really showed what you could do on that really quite big stage. So yeah, it's amazing to see these bands on such a big stage.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy playing that main stage for the first time. And James actually programmed my other band, Hippo Tractor, as well on the main stage, like at
Yeah, we saw that.
12 at noon
Yeah,
when
we
we
saw that.
I think at that point our biggest show was like for maybe 300-400 people, and all of a sudden there was like 3,000 people at noon. Yeah, and that's a really cool concept. Just
Yeah.
take a band you love that might not be that well known yet, and just put them on the fucking main stage, and yeah, let them go crazy. And yeah, love
My
that, love
memory
that.
from that Hippotractor show as well was that again you guys really smashed it, and you get a sense that even though it was one of your first shows on that scale, it was all really professionally done. I seem
Hmm.
to remember that again there was some good lighting and production there
Yeah.
that you wouldn't just expect for a relatively newish band. So
Hmm.
yeah, again, like Hippotractor really grasped that opportunity and got seen and heard by a lot of eyes and ears. So yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's a proper festival for music people, Arctangent, isn't it? Like you
Hmm.
get sort of like, take Download in the UK, for example, which is very, 80, 100,000 people, whatever, and there's bands, but they're sort of like you have to go 20 minutes to one stage to see a band, you might miss the end of another, whereas it's created so well that, okay, there are clashes at Arctangent, but even if you're, say, if Tesseract's playing the main stage and another band were playing the smaller stage, the smaller stage will still have loads of people at it.
Hmm.
That's Tesseract, because everyone's just there for music. And like Benny said, getting up at 10 a.m. to go for a book reading session, for example, in the tent somewhere.
Hmm.
Just people are there dedicated for it, and I think that's what makes it a bit of a special festival as well.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
how will you because obviously your songs are on the longer side. You've now got 3 albums. You've got some incredible tracks from your earlier albums that are sort of relatively firm fan favorites. How are you going to go about sort of curating your own set list going forward this next year in terms of striking that balance between showcasing this brilliant new album, but also keeping those favorites in the set?
Yeah, it's gonna take some compromise. We're just gonna have to make a decision on based on how much time we get to play, like what is the actual best show we can put on. And that's always going to be a combination of older songs and the new songs. The release shows are going to be very long sets, so we have a lot of options there and a lot of freedom. But if we have a 40-minute set, then yeah, that might be painful. But the question should always be, what's the actual best set list we can possibly play? Let's not focus too much on, yeah, we really want to play this weird B-side that we haven't played in 10 years, because that might not be the best song we can play, right? So yeah, we just take it from there. See, this is the amount of time we have. What's the best thing we can do with that?
So I assume when you're talking about the, like, you're saying hour long would be like your own shows you get to much produce, and then like the 40-minute set would be like when you're playing out Tangent next year, you know?
Yeah, for instance.
Excellent.
Hypothetically.
I just wanted to clarify that while we're here.
Yeah.
Joey, you're such a devil.
Look, if you don't ask, you don't get, huh?
True.
I mean, we're at the tail end of 2025 now, and it's been, I don't know about you, Stefan, but we do our end of year list and we listen to loads of albums through the year, and you know, this year's been a bit of a trudge at times, but I was going to say this album which Venny pushed onto me has been a real highlight of the year, and I think getting to chat to you here and actually hear it from yourself, you know, we've got the biography from, and I'll just shout out Lisa Coverdale now, who set this up, who is a lovely lady, but to be able to hear it from you about, you know, the tracks, how they meant to you, and you know, hearing about how your dad got to listen to the first track, the last thing we heard, is just, it's great. And I really appreciate you being so honest and open with us on this, because obviously it's a very emotional album for you, as you've said. And I mean, whenever we get to see you next, I can't wait to see these songs live. And from my end, just congratulations on a brilliant album. It's been great.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to hear.
Venny, anything else before we sign off and let Stefan get on?
No, it's brilliant stuff, but most of your stuff has been brilliant. So yeah, it's been good, and yeah, like Joey says, looking forward to catching it live sometime.
Yeah, man, we'd love to meet you guys and have a beer with you guys.
Oh well, absolutely. We'll do that next year.
Still dropping those hints.
Stefan, well, definitely, if we happen to be at one of your shows, we'll drop you a mail or something, and we'll meet you at some point and say hi. That'd be great.
Cool, let's do it.
But until then, thanks so much for your time, Stefan. Good luck on the album release shows, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you guys for having me.
Cheers, man.
Peace.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.